is. It's the big sign that the Shinnecock put up, causing a lot of controversy out here in the Hamptons. It certainly is big. New York State is not happy with that. And here's John driving out to the Hamptons.
Gonna see what the fuss is about.
That's right. All the commotion. For thousands of years, the Shinnecock have lived here along the shores of the Peconic Bay behind me, and on the other side is the Atlantic Ocean. Well, about 400 years ago, English settlers began arriving in the Hamptons. It's one of the oldest settlements in the United States. And during those last 4 centuries, the Shinnecock did not disappear. In fact, they lived alongside their English neighbors. In the year 1709, the Shinnecock people signed a treaty, an agreement with the town of Southampton. And that agreement said that this land would belong to the Shinnecock people for 1,000 years. It was a 1,000-year lease. At the time, that may have seemed like forever. So it was another way of saying, pretty much forever, the Shinnecock are entitled to hunt and fish and live on this land. So the year then was 1859, when this land suddenly became very desirable. And there was a group of wealthy investors from New York City who realized the potential that this land held in real estate, the value, because a lot of wealthy New Yorkers were coming out east to Long Island to play golf and to go to the beach and their summer houses. And so this whole area was being transformed in the year 1859. And that's when the Shinnecock lost their land. And the agreement that they had from 1709 was broken. The treaty was broken. And the allegations are, the claim is, that these investors from New York City forged the signatures of Shinnecock leaders and took it to Albany, the capital of New York State. And they used those signatures in the petition to allow the sale of Shinnecock land so that it could be developed into a summer playground for the rich. In fact, if you've ever heard of Shinnecock Hills Golf Course, that was Shinnecock land that was promised to them in 1709. So this might seem like ancient history that means nothing today. However, the Shinnecock are not gone. They're still here in the present day. They've been pushed onto a reservation, a small peninsula on the south end of the Hamptons. They are still fighting in court a legal battle to reclaim their land. They're looking for compensation. They're looking for financial reparations. They believe that that land was stolen from them and that the treaty was violated, it was broken. So there is an ongoing court case against New York State where the Shinnecock are trying to reclaim their lost land. And this is Becky Genia. She's a Shinnecock woman. And we're just going to learn a little bit about what's happening here on Sunrise Highway. She's going to educate us a bit about her people and her land and what they're fighting for and what they would like to see changed.
So Shinnecock ancestral homelands, we are there's Long Island, which we call Sewanaka, which means the island of shells. Is our traditional homelands, our ancestral territory. In 1640, June of 1640, the Pilgrims had landed on a place called Conscience Point. So our people, our Shinnecock people, greeted them in the summer of 1640. So that was kind of the beginning of our end as life as we knew it. We have been here since time immemorial, and this is our way of life, what we knew, living in harmony with the earth and Mother Nature, and living on the earth very gently, and really beautiful existence. So unfortunately, in June of 1640, when the Pilgrims came here and began to colonize our traditional lands, it was extremely different and difficult. What they did when they came to our shores is they brought what we call the Devil's Water, which in our language is Matan Nieps, the Devil's Water, bad water, and the Devil's Water, and which is AKA rum. So this alcohol that they brought, they quickly found out that when they give the Indians this Devil's Water, we could not handle it. So they used it as a tool to destroy us. So also on these boats were these diseases that we had no immunities towards. So it was another thing called yellow sweats, which was smallpox. So it was horrible. We called them yellow sweats. And so it began between the disease of the smallpox and the alcohol introduced to us, and this English language introduced to us. They used these as tools to destroy the native people, and it worked. Obviously, they haven't killed us all, but there is that onslaught of these things that we were defenseless against were really have affected us and still affect us to this day in a negative way. So although we've survived, it's been very difficult. Now we have to reclaim our language, which was pretty much stolen from us. We have to reclaim our land, which was pretty much all stolen from us. So the history of this, and this is what our sovereignty, our solidarity, our sovereignty camp is about, is letting people know that, that we're seeking justice for the maltreatment and the demoralization of our people since 1640. And, surviving all of that has not been an easy thing to do. With the land theft, of course, they came in June of 1640, and by December of 1640, so much land had been already stolen from us, like I said, due to the alcohol that they introduced to us, which they called treaty parties. So they would get the Indians drunk, and they would give them a pen, and we were to put our X's on this paper of these words. We had no clue what we were signing. So the fraud that came with stealing the land from us and was nearly immediate. It was just immediate, and it's a horrible history of how our land was stolen from us. In 1859, when we still had some of our land, some of our ways, some of our language, we were shoved onto what they call the neck. So it's our modern day reservation, and it's about 800 acres, and they pushed us into a swamp. It's a peninsula surrounded three sides by water, and they couldn't push us any further, else we'd have been right in the middle of the ocean somewhere. So they pushed us onto the neck, which is marshland and a swamp, and we were supposed to die of swamp fever within 2 generations. And we didn't do that, thankfully. So again, reclaiming our culture, our spiritual ways, our language, our culture, in the midst of being, tormented by this new society. It has been a really rough way to go. We are seeking justice for all of this, and we plan to continue our fight for to reclaim our land, and surrounded by billionaires who have built their mansions on stolen land. So we have this this imbalance of billionaires and this poverty. So this tribal poverty that we have going on is really it's just it's essential to our survival in the future. Also, to put a stop to some of this horrific treatment that we have endured all of these years. So this is all part of what Camp Sovereignty is about. Building alliances, because we all know that we have to share this earth. This is our earth, not mine, not yours. It is our earth, our planet, and we have got to, with all our might, figure out these ways to stop polluting and stop destroying. We need to be able to cleanse the water again, to purify the water, and to speak for the animals who cannot speak for themselves. We have to stop destroying their habitat too. Everyone has a right to live here properly on this earth. We can see all the destruction of the fires and the floods. The signs of the times, the prophecies are coming true. We are in the middle of our prophecies, and we have to do whatever we can to help the earth so that we can all live together properly and not have this horrible balance of the 1% billionaires while the rest of us are poor and suffering and homeless and helpless and starving and destroying our earth all at the same time. So we have a huge job ahead of us. The youth like you, the 8th graders, you have a chance to educate yourselves, and you're lucky you have teachers like you do to help you bring to the light all of these injustices, not just for human beings and the animals, but our planet Earth, so we can start rebuilding what has been destroyed for greed and profit. That's, greed and profit cannot be what continues to destroy our beautiful planet, Mother Earth. So thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. This is our earth. Let's take care of her, and let's seek some justice for all the bad behavior that has gone on in this world and to Shinnecock people for 380 years.
What are you hoping to accomplish at this camp in regards to the sign? Because I know that there's a conflict between New York State and the Shinnecock people regarding the billboard behind me on Sunrise Highway. Is that one of the goals here, is to stop New York?
One of the goals is to demand that New York State drop the lawsuit against this building of the second monument. They filed a lawsuit against us, last year when we had built this monument because this is our tribal land still, and we have a right to economic opportunities, and we thought that this sign would be a very good way to help with the economics of the tribal poverty, to address that tribal poverty on the reservation, because we live in shanties. A lot of us are below the poverty level, and we do live in shacks and shanties and campers and tents, and some are homeless, and we need to be able to take care of our own people, and this sign was supposed to generate some economics so that we can put food on the table and have some employment opportunities, because it seems like New York State and the town of Southampton are always trying to put the roadblocks in front of us so that we cannot economically progress at all. They want to keep us poor and unhappy and unhealthy because no one minds struggling. But these unhealthy housing situations with mold, mildew, rats, and roofs leaking, and it's cold, it's freezing cold in the winter, and a lot of these houses are not up to standard whatsoever. So this is what we're trying to do is better our situation on the reservation with these monuments. There were quite a few companies that, of course, they were looking forward to advertising on the sign, but when the temporary restraining orders came in and the lawsuits started, they backed up out of it. So we lost a lot of revenue because they were like, oh, we don't want to deal with anything that's in the court. And of course, that's what they do. They're not going to want to, interfere with any of the court and the decisions and but in the meantime, we lost a lot of revenue that way.
And that's one of the main...
It was deliberate. It was deliberate. They're trying to wear us down. They know we don't have a whole lot of resources to fight in court. So, there's a whole lot of deliberate, this malice behind all of this. So,
The last thing I want to ask you is, if there's one thing you would like students to know about the Shinnecock people or indigenous people in general, what would that be?
One thing that I would like everyone to know about indigenous people is that we consider ourselves very connected to Mother Earth and the universe, and everything that we do is for the love of the earth and the love of the universe, and we want to extend that love throughout the human beings and make sure that the four-legged, the wing, the people know that that's what the bottom line is, to keep everything in a good way, is to make sure that everyone knows, keep love. Always keep love in your heart and try to spread that. So, because it will combat all the hate, which is greed and profit and killing people for their resources. It's insanity. So let's bring it back to the love.
It sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
So we just had an interview with Becky in the camper, and now we're just going to chat a little bit with Tila, and she's going to talk a little bit about the sign on Sunrise Highway and why it's been such a controversial thing here in the Hamptons.
Hi everyone, my name is Tila and I'm an attorney for the Shinnecock Nation. Recently we built a monument sign on Sunrise Highway, and the point of the monument is really to say we're still here and to raise awareness that there are Native people living on Long Island today. And so we built this monument on our tribal land. It's our ancestral tribal land, which means that we've always lived here, and every member of Shinnecock descends from a person who was living here at one point. Around the 1800s, New York had removed us, actually, a lot like you may learn about like the Trail of Tears. They removed us from this land and they sent us all the way to where we live now, which is called the Shinnecock Neck. And in doing so, they actually stole all of the land in between the two locations. So we actually are in a situation where we have two reservations that are separated by about 4,000 acres of land known as Shinnecock Hills. And if you watch the movie Conscious Point, you can really get in depth and really learn about the history of the loss of the Shinnecock Hills. So I highly recommend that everybody do that. But it really is important to know that Indian people are still here. We're still on Long Island. We're in your communities, and we have the inherent right as tribal nations to conduct economic development. And so what we're doing here is simply asserting that sovereign right to conduct economic development so that we can feed our people, make sure that we have adequate housing, and educate our children, just like all other children are educated around the country.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Yes, thank you.